Hi guys, today we are doing a romance arc review and I have some feelings. I have a lot of feelings about this and a lot of them are not pleasant, but I'm just gonna roll it back. I'm gonna try and do a good job and we'll see where this takes us. The book in question today is A Spot of Trouble by Teri Wilson, and I was so happy to get an arc of this on Edelweiss from the publisher, so thank you to them. I got that in exchange for a free and honest review. Emphasis, unfortunately, on the honest. Yeah. Okay. No. So, the story. This takes place in a tiny beach town named Turtle Beach, and the belle of the town, she is the police chief's daughter, and her name is Violet March, and she is the female lead in this story. Violet March still lives at home and has a fabulous job with her own cupcake food truck, which, from all accounts, on the whole book, she does an incredible business, although half of it seems to be for charity and for free. Does the other stuff make up for that? I don't know. Anyway, she lives at home, she makes cupcakes for a living, and she has a Dalmatian named Sprinkles, who is a little bit on the wild side, but Sprinkles and Violet are absolutely just the darlings of this town in Turtle Beach. The male lead, his name is Sam Nash. He is a firefighter from Chicago who has come to Turtle Beach to kind of bring some sanity back to his life. He had a tragic thing happen to him in Chicago, so now he's all dark and broody and serious and very obsessed with fire safety. And he comes to Turtle Beach to be their new fire marshal, bringing along his Dalmatian, Cinder. Now, Turtle Beach has only ever had one Dalmatian in the entire history of the town for the longest time, and that is Sprinkles. So when Sam brings his own Dalmatian, everybody thinks at first that basically he's dog-napped Sprinkles, which is awkward, and some hijinks otherwise ensue. This means that when they first meet, Violet honestly herself thinks that Sam has dog snatched her dog and kind of gets herself into some embarrassment trying to get her brothers, who are also police officers, to arrest Sam, but obviously it's his dog. But it starts off kind of like a feud between them. They're definitely in opposites attract. Very stoic, uptight Sam, and very freewheeling Violet, and their accompanying dogs with those same exact traits. The big thing happening in Turtle Beach, and kind of the reason that Sam was offered the job as fire marshal, is that it is time for Guns and Hoses, which is a great name, by the way, for the annual softball tournament between the police department and the fire department. So of course, Violet supports the police department, that's her dad, that's her brothers, and Sam is of course the fire marshal, and he used to apparently play softball in college, was very good, and so they literally basically offered him this job so that he could come help them win Guns and Hoses this year. So of course they are natural enemies. Well, half the town is rooting for them to not get together, and then there's this cute group of women at the senior center who are totally attempting to play matchmaker very poorly. I love enemies to lovers romances, and often what happens with that is that the two get into some kind of feud and they end up doing things to each other that are often meant to be kind of like rude, but not in a terrible like physical pain way, and they tend to roll into other hijinks. They don't always go as planned, but I'm used to that as a element of this. Also, I've talked about in other reviews the idea that one person is always kind of uptight and very job focused, and the other person is freewheeling and kind of like, my life, is another trope that is leaned into often. And I have read tons of books where I have no issue with this. But here is the thing. From the first second that Violet and Sam are interacting, the hijinks, the feud, it is all at Violet's expense. The fact that she is a successful owner of her own food truck is often superseded by the fact that she is klutzy, she is silly, she is naive, and a lot of this book is also kind of formatted around something that happened last summer during Guns N' Hoses, where Violet's naivete also got her in trouble. And I don't want to kind of spoil that, but that's the basis of this book. So when Violet thinks that Sam has dog-napped Sprinkles, she starts screaming. She calls over the police, who happen to be both her brothers. And so the entire beach and the entire town, because obviously small town gossip, the whole thing, everyone knows that she has accused Sam of dog-napping her dog. And that's not what happened. She couldn't apparently recognize that the dog that Sam was holding was not her own dog. Goodness only knows, I guess, where her dog was at that time. Whatever. These things continue to escalate. There's really only one time that Sam ends up embarrassed in front of the whole town, or at least a solid portion of the town, because it's not like their feud is contained to the two of them. These things are happening in full view of the entire town of Turtle Beach, and every single time, Violet comes out on the losing side. Sometimes it's because of her own stuff, sometimes it's because of something Sam did, but this book made me physically uncomfortable. She was constantly in so many embarrassing situations that happened in full view of all these people who've known her entire life and clearly don't think, especially with her brothers and her dad, that she can like handle her own life, and constantly seems to be proving them right by these antics. And Sam, you know, his whole thing is he's very uptight. He learns to become unuptight on his own. I don't really see what he claims, which is that Violet is involved in his, like, you know, kind of loosening up. Like, it's the town that does that to him. It's the town's people. I honestly don't know where their relationship is supposed to come from. And I don't know if I couldn't see it because I was just so filled with like secondhand embarrassment for Violet the entire time. Like, I wish I could enumerate for you the things that happened to her, but I'm not going to because some of them are kind of weird spoilers. But at the climax, where Sam's actions directly lead to something with like tangible problems for Violet and total embarrassment that involves her entire family, she just kind of forgives him because he's like, well, I didn't mean to, but like, what? What? I would not have finished this book if I hadn't gotten it as an arc and needed to review it. I was literally on my couch just squirming. I read 3 other books in the middle because I didn't want to go back to it because it just seemed like Violet's embarrassment just kept on compounding, and yet I was still supposed to believe that they were supposed to get together. It hurt. And I understand that all of these things are tropes. All of these things show up in a lot of other romance novels, but this book did not, for me, do it well. I get secondhand embarrassment very easily, and to have just like this repetition, it just wasn't good for me. And it's unfortunate because the whole thing with their dogs was super cute. There are some amazing secondary characters who were just absolutely adorable, and I loved them. So there were some great character things going on in the background. There was clearly an attempt to give both Sam and Violet some things in their past to work through, but they didn't do it together, and Violet always came out on the bottom. I do not understand why the idea that like free-spirited means dumb very often. You know, just because you're free-spirited doesn't mean that you are naive. It doesn't mean that, you know, you're just can't handle your own life. It just kind of means you go through life in a different way. And that's something I see a lot in romance novels. I just see this handled well so rarely. It's really, really getting on my nerves. And this book was just like compounded issues. So get it from your local library. Check it out. If you enjoy romance novels that involve puppers, absolutely. Meddling senior women who are called Charlie's Angels and totally have the town on lock, that was all amazing. but I just can't get past Violet being forced to endure all that embarrassment. So could be a me thing, check it out for yourself, but I did not really enjoy that, and I do not think that just because, you know, you are a positive person who sees the good in people, that means naturally that, you know, you can't handle your own life. It's just an outlook. Doesn't mean you're not a smart person. I don't get it, and romance novels in general need to stop with that, because I have seen it a bunch lately and I don't like it. So this has been my honest review of A Spot of Trouble by Teri Wilson. Do with it what you will. I have a month full of arcs coming if I can do them all with my new PhD that I'm starting. So fingers crossed I can get you guys all of the romance and YA arcs I'm supposed to have coming your way. Thanks guys. Bye.